You need to stop wasting your single era. I'm talking stop scrolling on the dating app, stop pining over the imaginary boyfriend that you've been maladaptive daydreaming about, this multi-chapter, multi-sequel, multi-layered fantasy that you've built of your partner, boyfriend, husband, whoever it is. Stop thinking about when that guy from Bumble will reply to you. Stop thinking about when that boy will reply to your Instagram story. Stop daydreaming about the time when you'll be invited to a hotel with the room full of roses. Your single era is precious time, and maybe you don't realize it yet, but that's why I'm here. There's a lot that you need to know about not just surviving, but thriving in your single era. Hey, if you're new, I'm Christina and I make videos for people who are feeling lonely. If you're a people pleaser, overachiever, over anything, you're in the right place. When I think back to some of the times I've had when single, like how almost desperate I was to go on dates with guys and almost show up to the date perfect hair and makeup, like an outfit that I probably spent half an hour thinking about. When I started my dating journey, I was 19, 20, and I was still very socially anxious, socially awkward. I hadn't fully cracked friendships yet, let alone relationships. And I feel like over the years, working on my confidence, working on so many different things, self-esteem, validation, internal fulfillment, I've learned a lot about the time that you've been single and how to make the most of this time. So I have a lot to share. Starting off with, don't waste this time focusing on self-improvement when you should be focusing on self-acceptance instead. There is a lot of content out there trying to tell you how to self-improve yourself. There's a lot of self-help books. And what I would say is everyone at some point in their lives should go through some sort of self-improvement journey. And I think what people do is they make a few minor changes with the self-improvement stuff that they've learned, and they have a huge impact. They massively change their lives. The issue, which a lot of people have, is they don't know when to stop with the self-improvement and start on the self-acceptance instead. What I mean by this is your lack of self-acceptance is the reason why you're so desperate to read the next self-help book. Your lack of self-acceptance is the reason why you've got a really long list of YouTube videos that you need to watch after this one to learn more about leveling up or glowing up or how to become a high-value woman. Your lack of self-acceptance is the reason why you're desperate to listen to a bunch more podcasts. All your desires to kind of level up and be the best version of yourself, it all comes from a good place, but I feel like it's not actually being fueled by a want to self-improve yourself anymore. It's actually fueled by a lack of self-acceptance. Something I forgot to say whilst filming. With self-improvement, that's obviously a lot of knowledge. Knowledge can only get you so far. I forgot to say it while I was filming, but I feel like with the self-improvement, it's very knowledge-based, and then the self-acceptance is very confidence-based. Sometimes you're relying a little bit too much on all the information, all the books, all the podcasts to make you feel good about yourself and learn more and level up. But actually, you're lacking confidence still because you don't accept yourself. You're relying on the next video and the next thing to make you feel confident, but actually trust that you know enough. You've probably watched plenty of stuff, listened to plenty of stuff. All the information that you need, you already have. Because also, trust me, there are big YouTubers that I've watched. I've listened to them talk about their YouTube channels, their businesses. There's stuff that they don't know. And I'm how are you this big YouTuber with 2 million subscribers and you don't know this? Knowledge is not all that you need to be successful or to get to where you want to be. Knowledge is just honestly a thing on the side. Because whether you realize it or not, self-acceptance is literally influencing the way that you date. You might be saying things like, I'm not ready to date yet because I don't have a stable career. I need to get a more secure job, or I want to get promoted in my job, or I don't have a job. I'm a student. I need to graduate first, then I'll start dating. When really, none of us are ready. None of us are where we want to be. We all have a vision of where we want to go. Trust me, if you ask 100 people on the street, are you exactly where you want to be right here, right now in life? I'm convinced almost none of those people would say, yeah, I'm 100% happy with where I am at right now. There's always something. Even when you do tick every single box of the sort of desired person you want to become, when you are literally that person, you will still have things that you want to work on. In your single era, another thing that you should be doing is learning about your attachment style. And for a lot of people, this is probably the number one thing that's holding you back. I read a book called Attach, which essentially described all the different attachment styles, how we show up in relationships, in friendships and as single people. And it was so eye-opening. Literally, I read this book and couldn't believe the amount of reshuffling that my mind did. I learned things that explained things, and then I learned new things, and it was just I just couldn't believe what I learned in this book. If you don't know what attachment styles are, essentially they are the way that we give and receive love in relationships and in friendships as well. It all stems from how your parents gave you love. So in healthy people, they're called securely attached, or they have secure attachment. If they essentially had very loving parents, gave them attention, gave them affection, parents that were open and very vulnerable, spoke about their feelings, communicated their wants and needs. And so now secure people in adult relationships just know how to show up really healthily and really just really open, genuine, positive people in relationships. The next attachment style is people who are anxious. These are people that are very hot and cold. Their parents probably gave them inconsistent love and affection, which means that now in adult relationships, when their partner loves them, it's all fun and games, like things are good. But then when their partner doesn't love them, doesn't reply to a message, cancels a date last minute, forgets an anniversary, these people now start to panic and feel like they're not worthy of love. Their partner doesn't love them. Their fear of rejection is activated again, and essentially their self-esteem is very wrapped up in their relationship. The last attachment style is called anxious, and this is people who are very self-sufficient, self-reliant, very independent people who are career-driven. Their parents were probably quite cold and distant and weren't always there and available to give them love and affection, so they essentially just soothed themselves. Their parents might not have been as open and vulnerable talking about their feelings, and so they also don't really talk about their feelings that often. They find it really difficult to open up in a relationship, and they might look like they're really present and they might look like they love you, but emotionally they're quite distant and they always have like a bit of an arm's reach away from their partner. I realized that I was probably avoidant. I say probably, I am definitely avoidant. The career drivenness was definitely like me, talking about how you seem like you're close but emotionally you are distant. You never get that close to someone. I was like, that was me. Parents might have been cold and distant. That was me. And essentially the key thing I learned from this book is that just there is no the one. You can't really go about dating thinking that this checklist that you have, if you find someone that ticks all of it, then you'll be happy. That is a scam. I've made a whole entire video on a bunch of the myths that are very common in the dating scene. You're often setting yourself up to fail when you have a really long checklist and think that I'm just waiting for someone to tick all these boxes. That is a situation where you're going to be unhappy in a couple of years' time. Not because that doesn't exist or not because like your standards are too high, nothing like that, but it's often because relationships are built, they're not found. You can't go looking for someone that's a finished product and ticks every box, because oftentimes the thing that you want and the things that you have on your list take work and take like communication. They take time, they take building trust. You'll absolutely find, maybe there's the things on your list are like high, career, funny, intelligent, kind, like all these personality traits and maybe like physical appearance traits, but sometimes the relationship nature and the style and way that you guys talk to each other, the banter that you have, the holidays you go on, the way that they interact with your family, those are all things that are built and they're not really like a checklist sort of thing. After learning this, I realized in my single era, like right now as I'm single, 23, I've realized I need to spend a bit of time whilst I'm single being more patient, and not necessarily patient like I just have to keep waiting, because that's not how it works. Like from what I've read, that is not how it works. That's not true. It's like you have to be patient and be willing to meet more people and be willing to build with them. Like the thing that you want absolutely exists, but you can't like sit around and wait. And I know some people say like, oh, but I'm on the dating apps and I am meeting people. Like that's cool, but don't go looking for a finished product. No one is at 100%. Not even you, me, not even the people you look up to. We are all somewhere along the spectrum of 0 to 100 trying to get to our best selves. And it's a beautiful thing in a way how you can constantly try and like strive and improve and like work on yourself. But like no one ever gets to 100%. So it doesn't make sense for us to go looking for that in someone else either. Your standards don't matter, but your self-worth does. Sometimes I think people set high standards as a form of like protection. They've had a really awful experience in the past where maybe a partner has treated them terribly, been really toxic, cheated on them, been really unfaithful, and so now going into the next thing, they've kind of got lots of requirements for like they have to look like this, they have to talk like this, they have to reply to my messages with a certain number of minutes. You can set all the standards you want, you can have all the requirements you want. What matters is your self-worth, because when things get really timely, things are taking a long time, you've been single 9, 10 months, 11 months, you're getting impatient. What actually comes to determine the quality of your relationship isn't the standards, it's your self-worth. If you are so desperate after a year of being single, maybe you really want to get into a relationship, I don't know, you're reaching 25, 26, and you have dreams of being engaged, married in your late 20s, obviously the clock's ticking. Your self-worth is actually going to determine what you're going to settle for. And in my opinion, standards are very a surface level, superficial official thing. Anyone can talk about their standards. It's completely free and easy for me to say, like, I'd never date a guy under 6'4". I'd never date a guy who makes less than this much. Like, it's very easy for me to say that, but really what the truth is my self-worth. Another thing, when it comes to your single era, remember that a relationship is basically a friendship. Sometimes I think you might put emphasis on like meeting more guys, or, you know, I'm making this video from a female point of view because I'm a female and I am interested in men, but I do understand that it can apply to other sexualities as well. You might put emphasis that you want to meet more guys and go to more places where you'll meet successful men, or whatever it is. You're putting pressure on like relationship, but you have to remember that at the absolute core, a relationship is a friendship. If you made more friends, you'd probably have more relationships. You'd probably meet friends of friends who maybe knows a guy that would be good for you. For a lot of people, whether they admit it or not, dating and their desire for romance is probably a lot more intense than our desire for friendship. For whatever reason, maybe it's like you've not had a relationship before. I've not had a relationship before. Or maybe it's like you've been picked on at school and you felt like you were never desired, or never, like, all the other girls were like complimented on their looks and everyone thought that they were pretty and I never was. So it's like you kind of feel the desire for romance for that reason. Either way, sometimes when you do have a really intense desire for something, you might kind of put it on a pedestal and make it out to be a bit of a trophy. Like, when I do get a boyfriend, when I do get a girlfriend, like, oh, then I'll be like really successful, then I'll be really accomplished, then I'll feel better about myself. That makes all perfect sense, but what you've done in the process is like you've alienated relationships, this thing that you want, and you've made it so foreign and far away that it's kind of like making it harder for you to get access to. And that's further fueled by all the things that you say, like, I'm not ready to date yet, I want to work on myself, I want to read more books. Like, you're pushing it further and further away. You and relationships are getting further and further apart because, one, you think that it's a prize and you don't think that you're worthy of the prize. And I'm here to say that it is not a prize at all. Relationships are basically a friendship. At the core of them, we all know it and we all agree, like, the best relationships are built on a friendship first. So something to take the pressure off going about these dating apps and meeting up with people and whatever it is, however it is you go about dating. Because I've done a bunch of speed dates before, which I have a lot of stories of that, which, yeah, some good dates and some not so good dates. But essentially, if you just made more friendships, you definitely make more relationships as well. Stop idolizing the perfect partner and start idolizing yourself. Sometimes I think you walk around thinking that everyone else is the prize, not even just relationship wise. You walk around thinking everyone else has life together, everyone else must be so happy, everyone else must have friends, and everyone else mustn't feel lonely like I do. You think that everyone else has some sort of trick up their sleeve or is living a magically better life than you do. And then sometimes when it comes to dating, that means that you approach dating being like, the energy you're giving off is like you just feel so lucky to be on a date. You just feel so lucky that someone's picked you. You just feel so like happy, like, oh, finally someone's seen the positive in me. It's kind of like you're waiting around to be chosen by people and you're not even choosing yourself. I've used idolizing in this chapter. I don't know if idolizing is actually the best word, but essentially what I mean is you're waiting for someone else to choose you, but you've not chosen yourself. That's why when you stop agreeing to read the next dating book or the next self-help book, the next charisma book, you know, the next podcast, when you say no to that, you actually start to choose yourself. Because up until this point, you've maybe been choosing other people's advice, other people's promises. One thing I've come to realize, like, I worked out the other day that I've been on around 80 dates and I'm 23. Those are all first dates. Those are all just dates as well, for the weird guys in the comments. Like, it's like dating is all about energy. Like, sometimes you go on a date, things don't go well, and it's just you can't quite put your finger on it, but just the energy is off. The person doesn't seem fully confident, fully like comfortable in their own skin. Because of that, you're not fully confident, you're not comfortable in your own skin, and it's just like, okay, it's a no. Similarly, when I have got on dates and things just click, like things are just so natural, comfortable from the get-go, it's all just like about like energy. Like, they're just really comfortable, it's just easy, you can't put your finger on it. And I feel like an element of that is just understanding the dynamic of like, no one is above you, no one else is the prize, no one else is going to choose you. Like, that's not how it works. It's not like you're not good enough yet, become better, then you can join the club of the dating thing. Like, that's not how it works, but sometimes deep down you think it is. It's actually just, you arrive to the club, to the dating scene, whenever you want. You just have to believe that you're good enough. Sometimes you think dating is a matter of getting as good and becoming as good as everyone else. And you think that I just need to look better, or I need to learn how to be funnier. Like, if you're a guy watching this, you might think that you need to be like more pickup lines, which, if you are a guy watching this, please know, no one likes pickup lines. Like, literally no one. The more and more that I spend time like learning stuff and then just like spending time on my own, because I really do believe in self-acceptance and not feeling like I have to flood myself with all this information. Like, you really just have to arrive believing you're good enough. Like, acne and all, weight gain and all, lisp and all, like, you have to, whatever it is that you think, like, oh, I'm not good enough because of this thing. For me, I thought it was because I'm like too tall. I thought I'm 5'10". That is absolutely it makes things difficult. Like, I live in the UK. I live in a particular part of the UK where, like, guys aren't that tall as well. And I thought, like, oh, like, this is a nightmare. I also live in a part of the UK where it's, like, mostly white. So I thought, I'm open to dating other races. Like, that's not a problem for me. But I thought it's going to be a problem for other people. And I just thought, like, oh, okay, maybe when I move back to maybe London, or I move back to a big city, then I'll start dating. But that is not how it works. There's always going to be external influences, like maybe like the demographic, like I was saying, or the city you live in. That's always going to influence maybe your chances of meeting someone that you click with. But what actually has the biggest influence is yourself. Like, you always see those things where it's like, you know, you are the biggest thing holding you back, or your fear of looking stupid is holding you back. It's so cliche, but it's true. You are probably the one that's telling yourself the most that you're not good enough, or you're not ready enough, or you're not thin enough. Like, you're the one doing it the most. And the moment that you stop doing that and you start saying, like, I am good enough, I am welcome to the club of dating, of getting into a relationship at any time, at any point. Speaking of welcome, work on your confidence, not on your looks. I've touched on this quite a bit already, but it's very counterintuitive. I've noticed myself, girls that are really, really pretty and like super perfect, like gorgeous hair, gorgeous skin, gorgeous makeup, sometimes I think they're more insecure. And it's weird, you wouldn't think it, but like, girls that I've noticed that are very like Instagrammy and like look perfect and look amazing, sometimes I think that's a bit of a mask for how they feel on the inside. And I might be wrong, I hope I'm wrong. I'm sure, like, if you're watching this and you think like, no, that's not me, I'm a gorgeous girl and I'm like super confident, like, amazing, like, go off. Like, I love that for you, genuinely. But like, sometimes I've seen it for myself. There's girls that worry that they're not attractive enough. What they do is they just like work on the outside, and like, they wear different clothes, they do their hair differently, they do the makeup, like, they work on like making themselves look absolutely stunning, and they use that to boost their confidence. And the thing is, looking better will boost your confidence, but I don't think it always gets the result that you want. Like, I've watched so many different podcasts, you know those really controversial American podcasts where like guys are interviewing OnlyFans girls, or people are like doing street interviews. Like, the general consensus of what I've seen a lot of that is like, attractive people still have a hard time dating. Just because you're attractive doesn't make it miles easier for you. You might, especially if you're a girl, you might get a lot of guys approaching you just for one thing, or just trying to use you. And if you're a guy, you might get exactly the same thing. Like, you might get girls that are just trying to sleep with you, or you might get like, you might have a harder time because girls are more intimidated by you. And ultimately, with both parties, no matter your sexual orientation as well, there's always the element of jealousy as well. Like, when you are an attractive person in a partnership, it's kind of like you worry that the other person gets loads of attention, loads of DMs, loads of messages, and you worry about them being faithful. What I'm learning from this is I need to stop optimizing for looking as good as possible, and instead optimize for feeling as confident as possible. Like, you just have to feel in yourself like you're good enough, like you're ready. It's weird because a lot of this advice that I've come to learn, and like I'm putting in this video, isn't as strict and rigid and hard as fast as some of the podcasts that I listen to. A lot of the little things that I watch online, they're telling you to like wear these shoes and buy, like, dress in this aesthetic, like try to buy more clothes that fit the old money vibe. And I'm just like, okay, like, it's very, very strict advice. But what I've come to realize is a lot of the results that you want will come from feeling differently. Like, on the inside, you have to feel different. You might be like, Christina, how do I do that? It comes through your actions. Prove it in your actions that you feel good enough. Start saying no to the YouTube binges and the doom scrolling on TikTok about all the dating advice. You don't have to spend an hour deciding what to wear to meet up with that group of friends, and there's the guy there that you have a crush on, and you want to impress them. Like, prove it to yourself in your actions. I can just show up wearing whatever I want. I don't even have to do my makeup. Like, I'm just gonna throw on something to wear, and I'm just gonna show up. Prove it to yourself in your actions that you feel good enough. And sometimes, you know, wearing your hair in a certain way, doing makeup, sometimes that makes you feel confident. Do that. It's all about how you feel. Like, what I've come to realize, it's really all about how you feel, not necessarily how you actually look. And the last thing when it comes to your single era is remember that your hobbies and your interests matter more than your appearance. When it comes to being single and when it comes to dating, looks aren't the most important thing. You think that they are because you've been told over and over again that is what's important. Instagram makes you think that unless you're a size 0 and like platinum blonde hair, you're going to be further down on men's options, or further down on anyone's options really in the dating pool. But that is just not true. I promise you, if you focus more on being like an interesting person, and sometimes being an interesting person doesn't mean doing more or going out more, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, don't force yourself to like put pressure on yourself to do more and like go out and be exciting. But like, sometimes interesting is just like, have your interests and like really back them, like stand by your interests. You know, when you're in a group situation and you're talking to a group of people and you're like, you want to say something but you're too nervous to, you don't think it'll be funny enough or interesting enough. Being an interesting person to me just means like you stand by what you've got to say. You believe that it's okay to say it in the group combo. Like, you believe, okay, maybe it's not the most revolutionary thing, but I'm gonna say it anyway. That is an interesting person. A lot of what I've been speaking about is essentially just confidence, which we all knew. We all knew that confidence and dating go hand in hand. An element of dating is just learning how to have a really good conversation, which I was talking about in my previous video. It's called How to Be Memorable. Thank you, family, for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.